Arsenal's luck had to run out sooner or later. Mikel Arteta's side finally surrendered their unbeaten start to the season after William Saliba was sent off, their third red card in their opening 8 matches, as Bournemouth celebrated a famous victory thanks to goals from the substitutes Ryan Christie and Justin Kluivert. It was an evening to savor for their manager, Andoni Iraola, who saw his enterprising team record their first win over a side in the top half of the table since beating Manchester United in December. For it to come against Arteta, who grew up playing for the same youth team in San Sebastian, made it particularly sweet. But with Bukayo Saka having not made the trip to the South Coast, Arsenal had looked short of inspiration even before Saliba's red card swung the balance of the game. Tottenham dismantled feeble West Ham after bouncing back from early scare. Arteta admitted before kickoff there was no point pushing Saka with games against Shakhtar Donetsk and Liverpool to come after he returned early from England duty owing to a hamstring injury. That meant Raheem Sterling was retained from the win over Southampton before the international break, and Mikel Merino made his first start in midfield. There was also a timely return for Ben White in defense, while Bournemouth made 3 changes from their disappointing defeat to Leicester last time out. Iraola acknowledged this week that, while their expected goals data indicated they should be 4th in the table, the onus was on his players to become a more efficient team. They made their intentions clear from the start here, as Alex Scott and Marcus Tavernier were deployed in attacking roles, supporting the center-forward Evanilson, and Ricardo Calafiori had to clear a dangerous early free kick from Lewis Cook. A clever touch from Sterling, following another Bournemouth corner, almost created Arsenal's first opportunity, but Leandro Trossard could not quite break free. David Raya was then fortunate that his wayward pass to Scott didn't result in a goal, as Antoine Semenyo blazed over from distance. Iraola and Arteta spent the majority of the first half an hour cajoling on the edge of their technical areas, as both sides canceled each other out in a midfield battle. But the game suddenly came alive when Trossard inadvertently played the ball over his own defense, and Saliba brought down Evanilson as the Brazilian raced through on goal. A red card looked to be the likely outcome, although the referee Robert Jones initially only cautioned the France defender. With the PGMOL chief Howard Webb watching on from the stands, however, VR thought differently, and Saliba was off. He will now be missing when Liverpool visit the Emirates next Sunday. Merino came close to finding a breakthrough after good work from Sterling before the England forward was sacrificed for Jakub Kiwior to shore things up at the back. Semenyo had already forced Raya into a good save at his near post by then, and the match exploded into life early on with a flurry of penalty decisions. In the 9th minute, Leverkusen were awarded a spot kick, but Boniface saw his effort saved by the in-form Kevin Christian Trapp. The Frankfurt goalkeeper's heroics proved crucial, as just 7 minutes later, the visitors were awarded a penalty of their own. Marmoush stepped up and made no mistake, firing past Lukasz Hradecky to give Frankfurt the lead. The goal continued Marmoush's impressive scoring streak, netting in his 6th consecutive Bundesliga match. Leverkusen, stung by the early setback, began to assert their dominance. Their persistence paid off in the 25th minute when Andrich leveled the score with a well-worked team goal. The midfielder started and finished the move, combining brilliantly with his teammates before slotting home. The equalizer was a just reward for Leverkusen's increasing control of the game. As the first half drew to a close, Frankfurt thought they had regained the lead through Hugo Ekitike, but his effort was ruled out for offside, ensuring the teams went into the break level. The second half saw Leverkusen ramp up the pressure, creating numerous chances as they sought to complete the turnaround. Granit Xhaka orchestrated play from midfield, while Jeremy Frimpong provided a constant threat down the right flank. Frankfurt, however, remained dangerous on the counterattack, with Marmoush always looking to add to his tally. The breakthrough finally came in the 72nd minute when Boniface redeemed himself for his earlier penalty miss. The Nigerian striker rose highest to head home a substitute Florian Wirtz's deflected cross, sending the Bayerina into raptures. Marco Silva's 150th game in charge of Fulham ended in a 3-1 defeat to Aston Villa in an incident-packed cottage clash. A breathless opening 10 minutes saw Raul Jimenez give the Whites the lead, but Morgan Rogers responded for the Villains before Andreas Pereira missed a penalty. Ollie Watkins turned the game around in the second half, and with Joachim Andersen sent off for the hosts, Issa Diop turned into his own net to make it 3. The home side came out of the traps quickly, and when Anthony Robinson linked up nicely with Alex Iwobi, his inviting cross was just missed by Andreas in the middle. Kenny Tete kept the attack alive, but his shot from the edge of the box was blocked. We found the opener inside 5 minutes as red-hot Raul raced onto a long ball forward from Bernd Leno, before out-muscling Pau Torres and firing home with a low first-time strike. But Villa leveled with their first foray forward, as Rogers' speculative shot from outside of the box deflected off Calvin Bassey and past a wrong-footed Leno. Fulham were close to immediately retaking the lead, but Raul couldn't direct his header on target from Andreas' dangerous corner delivery. At the other end, Leno had to be alert when Watkins was put through, and our keeper made himself big to block the shot. Fulham were awarded a penalty following a VAR check when Matty Cash handled inside the area, but goalkeeper Emi Martinez got down to keep out Andreas' spot kick. The game continued to be open for both sides, and Rogers and Watkins both spurned good opportunities, firing wide when the ball was pulled back to them from the left. And there was one final opportunity of the half when Robinson's looping cross from the left was headed back across goal by Adama, but Raul couldn't keep his header under the bar. Leno was called into action again after the break, tipping away at full stretch when Andersen nipped in ahead of Watkins and keeping out a Ramsey strike after the ball broke loose from a free kick. The visitors' pressure paid off, with Watkins glancing a header into the back of the net to give his side the lead on the hour mark. Things went from bad to worse shortly after, as Andersen brought down Watkins and was shown a straight red by referee Darren England. His replacement, Diop, had no better luck, as Lucas Dean's drilled cross cannoned off the substitute for Villa's third. As Unai Emery's team became content to keep possession, there were relatively few chances in the closing stages. Villa winger Jadon Philogene was shown a second yellow late on after a foul on substitute Rice Nelson, but it made little difference on an unfortunate afternoon in SW6. Danny Welbeck's first-half strike handed Brighton and Hove Albion a backs-to-the-wall 1-0 win at Newcastle United, as Fabian Hürzeler's side moved up to 5th in the Premier League. The home team dominated proceedings from start to finish, enjoying 60% possession and having 21 efforts on goal, only to fall to a sucker punch 10 minutes before half-time, as Brighton caught their hosts out with a quickly taken free kick. In the blink of an eye, Lewis Dunk's raking long ball had found Welbeck in space, and after a neat exchange of passes with Jorginho Rutter, the forward burst into the box and beat Nick Pope for his 5th goal in just 8 appearances this season. However, the afternoon ended on a sour note for Welbeck and the visitors after the forward was stretchered off in agony and needing oxygen with 9 minutes to go after an innocuous-looking challenge in the back by Fabian Schär. Eddie Howe, meanwhile, will be wondering just how his team failed to score, as the Magpies went a 4th Premier League game without a win. Although in truth, as much as they huffed and puffed, the hosts largely failed to test Bart Verbruggen in the Brighton goal, with the returning Alexander Isak off the pace after a month on the sidelines. Tottenham Hotspur scored 3 goals in 8 second-half minutes to beat 10-man West Ham United 4-1, bouncing back after throwing away a 2-goal lead and losing to Brighton and Hove Albion before the international break. Saturday, 19th of October, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, London, Spurs 4-1 West Ham. Mohamed Kudus put West Ham ahead early on, only for Dejan Kulusevski to level towards the end of an entertaining first half. Ange Postecoglou surprisingly withdrew James Maddison at halftime, but that change paid off as Spurs swiftly pulled clear. Yves Bissouma swept home in the 52nd minute. Then goalkeeper Alphonse Areola scored an own goal in the 55th minute, before Son Heung-min struck the 3rd goal in the 60th minute that settled the contest. To add to West Ham's woes, Kudus was sent off late on as they dropped to 14th in the Premier League table with 8 points from as many matches, while Spurs go 6th with 13. What managers said. Ange Postecoglou, we had to fight hard in the first half. Going a goal down wasn't ideal, but we clawed our way back into it, and it is not easy. West Ham are a big physical side, and they have got some speed as well. Second half, we were outstanding. We upped the tempo and played some quality football, defended when we needed to, and got our finishing right. Julien Lopetegui. First of all, we are very disappointed for our fans. The summary is that Tottenham deserved to win, to be fair. We started well, and we deserved to take the lead despite their 2 big chances. We defended well, attacked well, and had more chances too. Manchester United came from behind to beat Brentford 2-1 at Old Trafford and end their winless run. Ethan Pinnock's header in first-half stoppage time had heaped further pressure on Erik ten Hag, whose team came into the contest without a win in 5 games, but superb second-half goals by Alejandro Garnacho and Rasmus Højlund turned it around. It was an impressive transformation, given that United had struggled to create before the break, with confidence presumably low. But these 3 points lift United above the Bees into the top half of the table, ahead of a trip to Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce in midweek. United had a few early half chances through the impressive Garnacho, but Brentford, with their trademark combination of short passes and long throws, played the more coherent and enterprising football in the first half, with Bryan Mbeumo to the fore. The reward for that performance came in slightly controversial circumstances, given that Matthijs de Ligt was forced off the field temporarily for treatment on a head injury sustained earlier in the half. Pinnock headed in the corner with the center-back absent. Ten Hag's frustration was apparent, yellow-carded for his complaints. It was a big team talk required, and United duly came out with greater purpose in the second half. Marcus Rashford's cross was met on the volley by Garnacho, and the mood changed. United were a different beast, Garnacho's confidence up and Højlund relishing the battle with Pinnock. When Brentford failed to clear their lines, Bruno Fernandes flicked the ball through, and Højlund's dinked finish, what composure, put United ahead. At half-time, with Southampton having already scored twice against Leicester, no team in the Premier League had scored fewer goals than Manchester United at that stage. The response from the team's young forwards was emphatic early in the second half. Rashford and Garnacho combining for the equalizer, Højlund's expert finish completing the turnaround. This was exactly what the Old Trafford crowd wanted to see. The Argentinian winger was the player of the match, tormenting Sepp van den Berg. It was not that everything he tried came off. It was no polished performance, but his belief, his willingness to run with and without the ball, playing with purpose, was exactly what the situation required. He was the spark that ignited Ten Hag's team in this game.